Also just didn't have the gas tank.
All right, time to get down to the first week of June, ladies and gentlemen, for the Mr. GLOAT podcast, ladies and gentlemen. June the 2nd, 2025, ladies and gentlemen, and what a day it's going to be, guys. I have about 4 topics to talk about, and the first 3 might not be entertaining, but the last one is going to be a specialty, so stay tuned for that as we speak. The first topic, ladies and gentlemen, is June the 2nd. The WBA has put out their rankings for top 15 in all weight classes. It's kind of weird, guys, because every time the WBA put out their rankings, they do it before the final day of the month or during the first day of the month. So sometimes it might be March the 1st or February the 1st, or sometimes it might be like saying March the 30th or March the 31st, or either way, 30th or 31st, so depending on what month it is. They don't do it on the 29th. They don't do it on the second day of a week or any other. They do it by the first day or the final day or so on, the second final day of every month, depending on it. Like last month, it was actually April the 30th is when they released their rankings, one day before the first day of May. But for some reason, they released it on June the 2nd, so that's unusual. But yeah, the top 6 boxers are still Fabio Wardley, Michael Hunter, Moses Atama, Jarrell Miller, Linear Perot, and Martin Bacall, so they're still in the top 6. Luckily, Justice Hooney used to be number 9 last month, and now he's ranked up 2 spots to number 7. Phil Pergovich, well, he lost a spot, down 1, now he's at number 8. Nelson Heisa, the hype job contender from Albania, well, he gets up 2 ranks from number 11 to number 9. And Mahmoud Achar, former WBA champion twice, yeah, he's down 2 spots from number 8 to number 10. And Deontay Pettigrew, well, he's down 1 spot again in number 11. Yeah, 2 months ago, he was number 14. A month later, in April the 30th, he was number 10, and now he's back down 1 spot to number 11. But yeah, it's great to see him there. And considering how Murat Gassiv was number 12 last month, he's down to number 13 with Daniel Perot at number 14 and Yoande Toirak still at number 15. That's still average, but yeah. But number 12 in the rankings, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than Dave Allen. So, guys, we might not know, guys, that several weeks ago, or a couple, so depending on how long it's been since remembering this, Dave Allen put out an upset victory, winning in a rematch against Johnny Fisher by knockout fashion. So Johnny Fisher was number 13, and now Dave Allen puts out this upset victory with now 24 wins, 7 losses, and 2 draws in his career, and he's number 12 in the WBA, but let's not get too ahead of him. Might not be there for long, but it's deserving. He took on a guy in the top 15, and to be honest, it's just a decent match. Who knows? But that's all I had to say about that. The rankings for the WBA will put out their owns for the heck of it, because there's enough title shots out there. But there is going to be one other WBA thing I'm going to talk about, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in just a moment. But guys, the second topic I do like to talk about is the month of May. The World Heavyweight title matches have been on fire. This month of May was crazy. So on May the 1st, guys, in Germany, in Bayern, Samir Dautovic won the WBF International Heavyweight title from the country of Bosnia. And he's now ranked number 181. But yet again, his record is not that good, but win nonetheless. From Italy, we had Antonio Carlesimo winning the UBO International Heavyweight title 9 days later in Italy. He picks up his 9th win and actually his 8th knockout victory. Now he's ranked number 105 in the world today. 4 days later in Australia, Stephen Ivic picks up his 7th win, and surprisingly, that brings him back. So he actually retains the Australian heavyweight title, and he's ranked at number 114. The Misfits fight 2 days, doesn't matter. The same day in Malta, we had Temur Mamoyan, a guy that won his 10th professional fight, now his 10th knockout. Born in Armenia, but living in Germany as we speak, he is now ranked number 143. He wins the IBO Continental Heavyweight Championship against undefeated fighter 7-0 Sergej Adamovic. Also a guy born in Bosnia. So technically can't say much about that, but still a good first-round knockout win there. And then 1 day later in Netherlands on May the 17th, Willie Kakonye becomes not just a Netherlands fighter, but a Uganda-born guy to win the WBF World Heavyweight Championship. So congratulations by first-round knockout. The same day, this time in Wisconsin, we have the USA Wisconsin State Heavyweight title. Jarde Anderson scores out a 6-round unanimous decision to win the Wisconsin title, but I can't think much about that guy. The Wisconsin title has brought out a lot of interesting memories. Like, for instance, Lyle McDonald defeated Michael Arms back in 1992 to become the first guy to legitimately win the title, even though it was the second title fight in history since 1979 when the inaugural title took place and ended in a split draw. So Lyle became the first to win it in 1992. And then the title was vacated away until 2010 when the title came back. And it was Lyle McDonald that fought for the belt against someone, which he was past his prime. It took him 18 years to fight for that title. And then 4 years later, and 4.5 years later, he finally won it back against the same guy that he lost in 2010. And then he lost it a year later against someone else. And then he never boxed again. So, yeah, Lyle McDowell did a crazy job with that Wisconsin title. Pretty crazy. But everything else, can't say much about it. The 2020s have brought that title to a halt. So, well, for now. But they've won a lot of titles with it. Also, 1 week later, in May the 24th, we had 2 title fights in Thuringen, Germany, where we had Jakob Salgam winning the GBC World Heavyweight Champion against Mario Stein. Surprisingly, Jakob, a 48-year-old fighter, fought last week ago on May the 17th in a different venue in Germany. He won his 50th professional fight and came back a week later to win in a round 8 TKO against Mario Stein to win the GBC heavyweight title. So, yeah, congratulations. That same night, we had Mohammed Ali Dermaz, nothing much than just a journeyman fighter picking up an unbelievable historical win. He's ranked number 668 in BoxRec from winning the GBA International Heavyweight title. Also, in 2 other countries that same day, in France and the UK, Matter Garcia actually wins the Federation Franchise D-Box French Heavyweight title. And also in the UK, ladies and gentlemen, also live, which was actually live on Frank Warren Promotions during the time where Josh Taylor scored his 3rd loss for the WBO Global Welterweight title and everything else with the Silver Featherweight title and Intercontinental titles. Moses Atama put out an unbelievable performance, knocking down Mike Balogun in the first round. And also scored another round knockout 10 seconds into the second round. And 30 seconds later, at 46 seconds, he scored the knockout to become WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. So pretty much, that's crazy. And guys, look at that fight. Moses Atama put out a crazy performance for what he did. He comes out there, puts in the performance, and just swings everything he had. Mike Balogun, a guy that's in his 40s, he is known for knocking out Trey Lippy, the guy that's the son of Tommy Morrison, the Duke Morrison, one of his kids that he ended his career about some years ago in 2020, which sucks. And I thought Mike Balogun was going to be a good fighter, but yeah, he was already not in his prime as much because of that. His loss against Mirat Gassi was big enough, and a lot of fans didn't know who he was, which I knew who he was because of those fights, but It is what it is. So I had a feeling he was going to give Moses Atama a hard time, and he kind of did in the first round. He was just chasing him. He didn't have a style. He was just chasing him, trying to give him a hard time, throw wild punches. It wasn't worth it. And looking at that final second of the second round, getting pushed, and there was one moment that every time Moses Atama is going to stay for a right punch, he puts his left glove down and then goes for the right. And there was one moment in a replay that when Moses Atama brings his left glove down and goes for the right punch to Mike, Mike goes for a right punch of his own and hits Moses Atama into the exposed region of his face. That would have almost ended Moses Atama's career for good. And so I think Moses Atama has to learn not to do that. So I hope he'll not make those mistakes, because I don't want to see that happening, because it is what it is. But
Are we doing bomb?
God damn it, I hate that. But still, all in all, I will say though, it was pretty an amazing fight. Just seeing how Mike was chasing after Moses during the final seconds of that round. He goes for a left jab to the body, and as he's about to swing for a right, like Moses goes for a right himself and hits him right into the cheekbone, and Mike just misses that right punch by a mile, turns his body to a 180 degree and lands on his right side of the canvas right down the ground. And the referee John Latham decides to just call it off, because at that moment it was just God, I hate that. But all in all, it was just so dangerous to just see him continue. But all in all, it was a pretty good match for what it was. It was just so good. So yeah, Moses Atama still needs practice, but still, who knows? Also, oh yeah, and by the way, on May the 31st, Alessio Bisutti also picked up his way against Natapon in Bangkok for the IBF Asia heavyweight title. Not bad. But guys, where are the fights that are going to happen in June? Well, Brandon Moore is going to try to defend his IBF USBA heavyweight title against Stanley Wright after his controversial win with that title 4 months ago with Skyward Lacey. 1 day later, also on June the 7th, Nelson Heisa is going to go back to the UK to take on Patrick Court for this WBO European heavyweight title. Oh yeah, and the Brandon Moore fight is going to be live on the on DAZN with Dimitri Salida Promotions and Joe DeGuardia of Star Boxing Promotions, and also on June the 7th, it's going to be Frank Warren Promotions again on June the 7th with Nelson Heisa defending that WBO European title on the card of Fabio Wardley versus Justice Hooney for the WBA contendership. So that's going to be an interesting show with Mike Perez coming back and trying to score out some wins here. And Dillian White is also coming back, but we don't know who he's going to fight against, but he will fight on the show. Willie Cacchione is going to come in June the 14th for the Bini Lux heavyweight title. So, which might be nothing much to talk about. Also that same day in Madison Square Garden, Alexis Barreri is going to leave his country of Canada to try to take over for what the other Canadian fighter, Simone Keane, could not do after he failed to do an interesting performance against Joseph Parker in 2023. So Alexis is going to try his best to fight for the WBC Continental Americas heavyweight title against Ronnie Hines, a 14-0-1 fighter from Cleveland, Ohio. So, and even though the guy hasn't fought in 1 year, Alexis Barreri hasn't fought in America as much, just in Canada. But Madison Square Garden, that's going to be interesting. And that fight will be on Eddie Hearn Promotions. So with the Richard Hitchens versus George Kambosos Jr. IBF World Super Lightweight title fight. So that's going to be interesting nonetheless. And that's about it for June. So we don't know what other titles are going to be in the heavyweight. Like I said before, guys, July the 19th, undisputed heavyweight title with Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois. The fight card is also going to have Moses Atama on the fight card that same night, but we don't know who he's going to fight with. But They are thinking of some. July the 26th is going to be Yumat Kamkiran fighting against some 13-1 guy for the WBC Asia heavyweight title. Yumat Kamkiran from Turkey, I can't say much. He's an overweight baked potato that doesn't deserve to be in the heavyweights, but he's a hype job. He has a good resume win, but yet again, it's not that much. And also on that same day, this time in Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, we'll have Clarissa Shields versus Lonnie Daniels. Lonnie Daniels is number one in the light heavyweight division, with Clarissa Shields is number one in the heavyweight, undisputed heavyweight champion. Crazy enough. So it's going to be great to see two number one ranked boxers in BoxRec fighting each other. So Lonnie Daniels is coming back from the heavyweight after she left during the summer of 2023 to fight in the IBF light heavyweight title. She's done a couple fights there. So yeah, we'll see how good that plays off. And nothing left in the fight card for that, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless.
But make no mistake, there are still plenty.
So yeah, those are all, that's all I have to say about those two topics.
Comes out on top.
So guys, the third topic is going to be interesting. With the WBA ranking any other fighter in the division with many fighters like that are should or should not deserve to be in the rankings, with the WBA also ranked out the new light heavyweight fighter named Shara Butterbean at ATAEV, a 7-0 fighter from Russia. Picking up his 7th win and the only person in the rankings in the WBA. Nothing changed in the light heavyweight division except him being there, but yeah. And yeah, still Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol are still off the ranks there, so
hit subscribe if you're new.
Can't say much about it. Artur Beterbiev is still in the 4 classes of all the rankings in light heavyweight, and David Benavidez is still there. But guys, considering with everything going on with new fighters and others that are in the WBA as we speak, with some from Mexico, one in the middleweight, there is one that came out in the super welterweight, and many other interesting boxers to throw in just for the heck of it. And even though there's some that should have deserved to be in the rankings and some that didn't deserve to be taken out of the rankings, there is one moment that I am a little bit confused by, and it does get me questioned a lot, and that is the super middleweight division of boxing. And there's one person I like to talk about. It is Jermall Charlo. If that's how you pronounce his name. Let me go to Google Translations here and see if that's how you pronounce his name. Give me a second here. Give me a second. I don't want to play that. No.
Sadly, Julius was
how you say that name?
Into an exceptional
Jermall Charlo.
Jermall Charlo. Got it. Okay, Jermall Charlo. And you people are wondering, wait, Jermall Charlo? What do you mean? Jermall Charlo isn't even boxing anymore. He lost against Canelo Alvarez. Okay, guys, can everyone just not listen? Okay, guys, if I ever say Hitman, I'm talking about the older brother. If I'm talking about Iron Man, I'm talking about the younger brother that was born 1 minute after his older brother. So you people might not know this. Jermall Charlo, there's 2 brothers, and they're both twin brothers, and they both have the same name. One of them is Hitman, and the other is Iron Man. The Hitman is a former IBF super welterweight and WBC middleweight champion. Iron Man, the younger brother, is the former undisputed super welterweight champion that went up 2 weight classes, similar than Terrence Crawford is doing this year, and he lost against Canelo Alvarez, and Terrence Crawford might meet the same fate as him. And speaking about that, that will play an interesting factor for Canelo Alvarez's history here if he actually does something. Because guys, Canelo Alvarez is known for a lot, but there's some stuff that you people don't know about him. You see, Canelo Alvarez actually did have a fight with some interesting fighters in his career, such as the Cotto brothers and the Smith brothers. and now he's taken the Charlo brothers out. So let me explain. So guys, in the 2000s, Miguel Cotto was a great fighter at the time, but no one knows that he had a brother or a sibling named Jose Miguel Cotto. Now, Jose Miguel Cotto had some interesting fights in his career. Interesting stuff during his early years in the 90s and such, which wasn't much of a resume, but he did have title wins, U's, NABA, Intercontinental titles. He lost the WBA super lightweight title in 2006, had a fight with it again in a vacant title a year later, which ended in a majority draw, which it would have been, and then he retired in 2007. He came back 2 years later for some reason, had some wins, and then in May the 1st, 2010, Canelo Alvarez defeated him. And the guy's career for the next couple years never became the same again. He just flopped at the end, and that was the end of his career. So what happened next? Well, Canelo started winning more titles and then got big. Lost against Mayweather in 2014. He took some easy fights, or that weren't easy. And then he had Knockout of the Year awards in 2015, 2016. But there's other fights in those years that some people might not know. He fought against Miguel Cotto, the famous one, in 2015, past prime Miguel Cotto, and won in 12 rounds. A year later, after scoring another Knockout of the Year award, he takes on Liam Smith in September 2016, wins the WBO super welterweight title. And guess what happens next? He goes up a weight class, goes down some weight classes again, fights in between of 2018, gets rematch with Gennady Golovkin, this or that, goes up to light heavyweight with Sergey Kovalev. And a year later during COVID, he takes on Liam Smith's brother, Callum Smith, for WBC and WBA super middleweight champion, becoming a 4 weight class or maybe a 3 weight class champion, depends, and just goes all in. And has rematch on wins from Andy Yoderin to Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. Yeah, lots against Bivol, doesn't matter. Golovkin, Ryder in 2022, 2023, nothing. That's crazy. He defeated 2 family members of brothers, and that's crazy. In 2023, he defeats Jermall, the Iron Man Charlo, and in 2024, defeats out Munguia, Berlanga, and Skull in May last month ago. Undefeated boxers. Now it's Crawford. And now I'm wondering, is he going to fight Jermall, Hitman Charlo, next year? Because I have a feeling that's going to happen. And that might make big money just for that. But here's the thing, guys. Jermall Charlo, the older brother, Hitman. The problem is, guys, his boxing career is so confusing. It's hard for me to look at this. Like, he gets a great title win, helps on to get some good wins from Matvey Korobov, and even Julian Williams, Austin Trout, and even picks up wins like Dennis Hogan, which was his last knockout until 2002 days later when he knocked out Thomas Lamana a couple days ago on May the 31st in Las Vegas. After he knocked him out in round 3, 4, and then round 5 after he knocked out Lamana again. And ever since during the press con, because they had some argument in press conferences for some reason where Lamana was treating Jermall like he was never going to knock him out, and Jermall really gave him a paycheck for that. And there's a moment where Mark Nelson was telling Jermall Charlo to go to a neutral corner. He was pointing that way the whole time, and all Jermall was doing was turning his back away from the referee, celebrating with the fans, and he's looking back this way, not even looking at the referee Mark Nelson, telling him to go that way. Go that way, that way. It's like Jermall Charlo didn't know what to do because it's been 2,000 days since he last knocked someone out, which is just ridiculous. But and then just seeing the close-up of Thomas Lamana and how one of the bruises above his eye was so bruised, like it wasn't bleeding or cut, it was just so disturbing, and some of the eyes. I don't know why they continued during the 5th round until the round ended, and then when the round was about to start, round 6, they stopped it at 1 second or 5 seconds, but it depends. But yeah, Jermall Hitman Charlo won the fight, and then that same night they were trying to promote with Caleb Plant and Jose Armanda, that was ranked number 15 in the WBA, and Plant, the interim WBA champion, to have him win the fight fight just so Plant and Charlo will fight each other. Well, Jose Armando put out an upset victory. A guy that was ranked number 15 a couple days ago defeated Caleb Plant by split decision, and guess what happened? 2 days later, he is now unranked in boxing, and it still shows Caleb Plant is interim champion. But when looking it up on Wikipedia, as I'm now doing that right now, it now shows Armando, the interim champion, and Plant not. So which one's right and which one's wrong? I'm really confused. I gotta go to WBA if there is, but yeah, to be honest, that's really ridiculous. Oh yeah, and Jermall Hitman Charlo, he's ranked in the WBA at number 2. So that makes things more that they were trying to rank him higher. So I do have a feeling that they're trying to book him as winning the WBA regular championship because he's been out of boxing for some time. And guys, the thing about Jermall Charlo, he might not put in a good performance as much as his brother did. Because understand, he's been out of the boxing ring for a while for a lot of reasons. And I don't know why. Because, like I said, he takes on Sergey I can't even say this Ukrainian's name. Duravianchenko in September, during the time when him and his brother, they both boxed the same night and won their fights. And then in June the 19th, he takes on Juan Montiel. And then he's out of boxing for some reason, comes back 2 years and 4 or 5 months later to take on Jose Benavidez in November. And then he comes back a year and a half later in May the 31st, 2025. And he's 35 years old. And guys, at this moment, I will say I'm giving Jermall Hitman Charlo probably 3 more good years left in him until 2028. Until then, I think he should just quit boxing. Yet again, I think he should just quit boxing maybe after he defeats Canelo Alvarez, if he does beat Crawford, which I have a feeling he might. So I do question that, but yet again, but there is problems. I do question that. So, but yet again, I will say there's
down twice in the 8th. Before a crunch,
but still, there is some moments I might say about this, but the thing is, I don't know why Charlo has been out of the spotlight for a while, but yet again, I do question
How do you like his height and his
some of
reach?
this because it makes me wonder.
You're going to see in dealing with that.
Like it just makes me wonder why that's the case. Like, why is Jermall Hitman Charlo fighting part-time for reasons? And there's a lot of interesting things here. And by the way, guys, like I did find the information, so it's kind of interesting. So there's information here that I do know. So after the Hitman defeated Benavidez, it's said by October of 2023, as for reasons here, and let me just get back to his boxing statement here. So about 1 month before the fight in November, as they were studying for him to take on Jose Benavidez for November in the pay-per-view, it stated that Jose Benavidez and David Benavidez, his brother as well, undefeated, light heavyweight, during the card, that they were going to try to schedule a fight with Demetrius Andrade, headlined by for reasons. And it also stated due to WBC title that was defended as Benavidez, and they also had Carlos Adams at the time that was the WBC interim champion since 2022. Luckily, he gets a title in February, and it's interesting because it stated that even though that he was supposed to fight against Canelo Alvarez, because originally it stated that they were going to have a fight in May the 4th, that as of February the 12th, 2024, after weeks of rumors that Charlo was going to challenge the Undisputed Championship after his brother, the Iron Man, former Undisputed Super Welterweight, lost against Alvarez, they wanted to have his other brother fight against Canelo with him in May of 2024, which was the Jaime Munguia versus Canelo Alvarez. That fight never happened. And it stated that 2 days later, whilst that fight was going to take place with the Undisputed, with Turks and where Charlo refuted these rumors, stating he had not spoken to Al Heyman since he last fought, and no fight was confirmed for him. And on February 26th, despite being contracted to the PBC banner in May, it was reported that Alvarez and PBC mutually agreed to part ways. And even 2 days later, after the Munguia and Alvarez fight, Charlo was arrested for charges of misdemeanor. What? Blood alcohol of 0.15 above legal of what? And then he was stripped of the title.
And that's literally what I did.
That time when Carlos Adams elevating full championship status despite this. Solomon, the president of the WBC, stated they would continue to work closely with the PBC to help support Charlo through difficult times. Wait, what? Difficult? Wait, what difficult times are you talking about?
Guillermo Jones of Panama was still an enormous
I don't understand. What difficult times is Charlo been
all the
through?
way up to heavyweight.
Wait a minute. Legal troubles. Wait a minute. What the heck? Whoa.
Jones extremely tall compared to the guy who's got the wingspan of an
Wait a minute.
When he met
I
Laurent
found
Boudouani, however, back in
holy
1998,
shit.
he overshadowed the Frenchman by 7
Holy
inches.
shit. What did I stumble across here? According to TMZ Sports, Charlo was arrested following an incident which took place in a private martini bar and social club in San Antonio, Texas on July the 16th, 2021. Okay, that was 1 month after his title defense in June. Police documents claim Charlo attended a bar with a large group. When the bill came, Charlo gave his credit card, but the waitress returning the card was declined, and the verbal altercation began between Charlo and a waitress along with 2 managers. As the hitman and his party left the bar, they barged into the waitress, who alleged she injured her leg. Hitman turned himself in after arrest warrants were issued. What? Arrest warrants were issued? That doesn't make no sense. That makes no sense. Guys, that makes no sense. You can't have arrest warrants that would be issued if you turn yourself in. Guys, why would someone have arrest warrants issued? Guys, why would someone put out arrest warrants if you already turn yourself in? That makes 0 sense. Because you already turn yourself in, so you don't need arrest warrants. If you turn yourself in, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. There was also video evidence of the incident. He was formally charged with 3 counts of second-degree felony robbery after footage showed him taking the check portfolio. Charlo's attorney, Kent A. Schaefer, stated, "I want to make it clear Jermall stole no money from anyone in the club and made no threats towards anyone. When the club ran his card, it was declined, and he then received a fraud alert from Chase Bank asking if he would made that charge. He responded yes, and they told him to have the charge submitted again, and the waitress went to run it again and came back saying she could not find the card. The hitman was upset. The card was missing since it was a debit card tied into his account with a substantial amount of money. On February the 2nd, he was cleared of all charges, 2022. His version of events claim after the waitress lost his card for the count and substantial amount of money in. Became upset and saw the ID and check portfolio, which he then took, so it did not become lost. And look, and this even is more messed up. And then 9 days later, on February the 11th, he was arrested with a charge of assault causing bodily injury to a family member. The incident took place in September 2021, 2 months after the bar incident. Oh my God. Previously, Charlo had been investigated in May 2020 following an alleged aggravated assault incident, which also included a family member. The arrest affidavit read, did then and there intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly cause bodily injury to the alleged victim by punching or grabbing him by his hair. It is further presented in and to said court that at the time of the offense alleged above, the alleged victim was a member of the defendant's family or household. He was arrested with one account of third-degree felony assault. Charlo was charged as a repeat offender following the incident, which took place in Clark County, Nevada in 2015. Jesus freaking Christ. Where he was convicted. It was alleged he assaulted a 21-year-old nephew, and on September 12, 2022, motion to dismiss was filed by the state of Texas. The case was dismissed after the state was not able to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Jesus. And it even gets worse. What the frig? And dude, so that makes even more sense how it took him another year off to get back to the ring.
2001.
And as he was about to fight Canelo Alvarez, which never happened because it was Jaime Munguia, 2 days later, after Canelo Alvarez defeated Jaime Munguia, on May the 6th, a road traffic accident occurred involving Hitman, which later saw him arrested and charged with 3 misdemeanor counts according to reports. He was driving under the influence, fled by police officers, and fled the scene during the accident. And according to TMZ, Charlo was driving a Lamborghini. He and another driver had words before Charlo left the scene, only to be arrested a mile away at a red light. A blood test showed that he was at a .15, nearly twice the state limit, .08, yes. And guys, I'm sure people know blood alcohol, that a .08 means you shouldn't be driving. A .112 or even 115 means that you shouldn't even be doing nothing other than going to sleep. Like, Jesus Christ. On September 2024, he was charged with DUI. His attorney, Ken Schaefer, stated Charlo would never have consumed any drugs as he was in training. Guys, when I said that Charlo had 3 more years left in him, I think he has 1 year left in him until 2026. I don't see this going good, guys. Guys, let me read the rest of this WBC, him stripping the title. Wait, so full champion despite Solomon and the blood alcohol. So the president, Solomon, the president of WBC, wants to help out through difficult times. Solomon explained the WBC's decision, saying, so the WBC has made the decision, but at the same time, we have compassion and still care for Hitman's well-being. When he returns to boxing, he will walk with him as well. As I've always said, we are always going to give time for our champions. Mental health is such a powerful issue in the world. Now more than ever, we are talking to Charlo's promoter, Tom Brown, to help find the people who can help him with the specific actions he needs to take him to his recovery. Adams had also remained patient with the WBC during this time, having won the interim title in October of 2022. Guys, I did not really expected any of this information to come out. I just thought Jermall Charlo was being lazy. This is a whole different ball game. This is, guys, I don't know what to say about Jermall Charlo at this moment because he put in a good performance 2 days ago. Now I'm questioning, does he still have that mentality to go for, guys, I don't know if he will even win an undisputed super middleweight title, or even if he even wins the WBA regular super middleweight title. I just don't see that happening. Jesus, this is crazy.
When his temper's around. He stands 6 feet 6 inches in height and weighs 240 pounds.
You know what, guys? I've already talked enough
And
about
so
that.
a similar
Jesus.
night, which is now over a century old, came when Dempsey not only
Anyway.
went against the odds, but
Let's just get to this
obliterated them.
last topic.
In his fight when he won the title from Jess Willard.
So guys, people in comments have talked about so much, and there's some people out there that do believe that Peter McNeeley has a better record than other people do, a spotless record with a lot of wins and a lot of knockouts and such. But when people look at Peter McNeeley's resume, over 47 of his wins, and a lot of them are against nobody fighters that weren't that great for opponents. And 7 losses, 6 of his 7 losses were by knockout, and 1 with a DQ, which was Mike Tyson. And I think when you people have to look it up for understanding the true about him, Peter McNeeley's record took on horrific heights for all the wrong reason for mankind. And trying to look it up, and when looking up to understand, Mike Tyson coming back to boxing thanks to Don King is like putting in a huge effort. And keep this in mind, guys, Don King has also helped out with trying to put in Cassius Chaney into the boxing world. And, well, a year later, well, guess what? Michael Hunter took care of him. And guess what? We are now having reports about Don King on August the 20th, on his 94th birthday, that he's also having Michael Hunter fight Kubrat Pulev for the WBA heavyweight champion on Don King Promotions in America, which I'll get to that story some other time. But my point is, like, seeing Peter McNeeley getting ranked into the division, lose it against Mike Tyson, and then have a few fights against nobody fighters that are just nothing much. He loses against a guy with a 3-3-2 record, and then gets other wins against nobody fights, and gets disqualification wins and decisions, this or that, by 98. And then, for some reason, in 1999, he loses against Brian Nielsen, and then for some time he had drug problems. The real story would come where his career, in my opinion, was already dead. And what more to say about that than Peter McNeeley versus Eric Esch, aka Butterbean. So the story goes, ladies and gentlemen, that that Peter McNeeley has been clean for now 70 days due to drugs and such. And commentators and announcers at the time would point that out. Guys, I will say though, guys, I love the commentators of this show. I don't want to get to the commentators as much talking about this. And it is funny because there's a lot of information about this, like such as the fight was on the same card on Bob Arum Promotions, talking about Johnny Tapia versus Paulie Ayala, the first meeting, which they named that the Ring Magazine Fight of the Year for 1999. And they also pointed out how Butterbean came in 12 pounds lighter because he was 223. 323, and now he's 311. But yet then again, his weight would go way up in later times. So, and Peter McNeeley, his weight was at 212 and such. So, yeah, for Showtime Boxing, it's pretty big. But yeah, it is hard because, guys, you watch this and
I don't think we watched this Nitro because I don't think we've reviewed the Nashville.
it's just crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
And keep this in mind, guys, Butterbean was fighting week in and week out. Like, he fought his last fight 15 days ago when he was 3, and then 15 days later he takes on Peter McNeeley and he's 311. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
We could not hear the talking.
And this was also Butterbean's third fight in 30 days. But keep this in mind, guys, Eric Esch has only fought 4-round fights in his entire career. Yeah, the Larry Holmes was 10 rounds, but he's always been a guy just fighting 4 rounds. The commentators did point out information of how he lost his first fight, which I'm going to talk about his first professional loss another time in the future. And then the commentators talk about how Butterbean is just this joke person, like he's a big baked potato, he's this, he can't do that, but when he takes that punch, you're gonna feel it because he hits like a bull, so don't make fun of it. So I love that the commentators pointed that out, and I even love that commentators pointed out one of their fights early on had a 12-round fight that wasn't entertaining, and then they talk about this fight ending quickly in the first round. Yeah, first round, you guessed it. And who won it? Oh boy, I will say though, guys, the announcers were pretty good. They're far better than announcers today. Like, guys, whatever happened to boxing with commentators back in the old days? Showtime and HBO and Larry Merchant, like those commentators were so good. Whatever happened to commentators in today's world? I just don't get it. So this is how the fight starts. So they cut to ring announcer. So they cut to ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr. for the ring announcer for the fight tonight. And as he's announcing the fighter, there's a guy that looks like Mark Gormley holding onto a title. And I'm not joking. When I say Mark Gormley, I'm talking about the guy that's involved with the UZ TV and his songs Without You and such, with those cheap sunglasses and beard that looks like Jeffrey Dahmer with a half character. Don't get me wrong, he has a good singing voice. He's a good singer, and rest in peace. He passed away last year ago. Rest in peace. He's a good guy. But the guy standing behind Jimmy Lennon Jr. holding on, which has to be the IBC out title that Butterbean has already won, and he looks like the guy holding on to it looks like a 40-year-old Mark Gormley with good beard and glasses. It just looked ridiculous, but still, it was funny. So, and he comes out, brought to you in part by this or that, and the IBA, which also makes sense. IBA, yeah, which was a commission at the time. Talks about the judges and the referee for the show. And I love that the referee was Jay Nady, and I love that Jay Nady looks at the camera, he's smiling while doing this for some weird reason. Kind of weird. But he announces the fighter, his first fighter, Hurricane Peter McNeeley. And as he announces Peter McNeeley, the crowd boos. The crowd boos. They don't like this guy. No one likes Peter McNeeley. He's just not that good. 30 years old.
Not yet, is he? Because he's about to.
Sad. I feel bad that all of his family members and trans are there. It's like, there's just no point.
That once yet on anything we've watched.
It's bad. It's bad.
I guess then, right?
And then as he announces the guy from the red corner wearing the red, white, and blue American suit, weighing 311 pounds, and as Jimmy Lennon says that the crowd is cheering bananas, and that's just from Jesper, from Medfield, Massachusetts, boo, 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 crowd boos. And then from Jesper, Alabama, yay, 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 the crowd's cheering on it.
Fuck that guy, right, Tony?
It is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, Butterbean is the name, and that's all it is. Even though in Box Shrek his name is Eric Esht, but yeah, we know him as Butterbean.
Okay, yeah, he's
Brian Adams was.
So the fight starts out pretty decent with this or that, and with everything going on for everything else, the fight starts out pretty surprising. The commentators did point out how Peter McNeeley came clean for 70 days due to this time. This or that, Butterbean losing pounds and weight, this or that. So Peter McNeeley starts dodging in, comes attacking in, and then as he does, he goes punches, but then Butterbean attacks him with multitude of punches, and he's blocking, holding this or that, and then they start clinching. And then they clinch, and as he does, Peter McNeeley tries to throw some shots at him at this or that. And there was one moment where Butterbean just goes straight ducking down, doing this for some hilarious reason, which is crazy. And it's even crazy. So they duck on in the first 30 seconds, and they manage to handle each other into the first minute of the fight, stunning each other, swinging this or that. And it seemed like it was an even fight, even though Butterbean was doing better punching work, so he might have won this round.
Yes, he's
because he was more of the aggressor of the fight, throwing and landing better punches. And with the first minute of the round, there was one moment where a clinch or a headbutt came in, and Jay Needy yelled at Peter McNeeley not to do headbutting, I guess. And commentators are going out that he wants to aim for the body of Butterbean.
That's his big gotcha.
And with 1 minute 30 seconds, we are getting a lot of just standing still. Like they're both standing steady to each other as best they can. And Peter McNeeley is not going for the stuff that he's doing in Mike Tyson. He's just standing out still a little bit. Like he's not. Like he's getting punched easily. Like he's putting his gloves like this and this or that, and just waiting for the opportunity. But sometimes those things don't work. Like Jake Paul's third professional win happened when a guy is doing this, and Jake Paul finds the opportunity and knocks him out. So it's that bad. So with 40 seconds left of the fight. So with 40 seconds left of the fight, Butterbean throws a right, he misses, and then goes for a left punch, and then just stumbles out McNeeley with another left punch, jabs him, he gets him stuck to the corner a little bit, but then Peter clinches him and gets him to the ropes. And as for some uppercuts by Butterbean, and then Jay Needy tries to break out the clinch, and as he does, Peter McNeeley backs up right to the other side of the corner ropes, giving Butterbean the advantage to attack him. It was so bad. Jay Needy just shoved him right into the ropes and just gives Butterbean a free shot to have McNeeley just cover himself and such. Oh, so bad. But then McNeeley tries to turn around and then just clinch him again, which is something that I wish Hyun-Mi Choi did last year ago with Jessica Kamara, which still pisses me off that South Korean females just don't have the courage to take on American women. They're scared. But yeah, Peter McNeeley, he's trying to clinch him on. He tries to throw a little bit of this or that, but Butterbean is just going for cross, uppercuts, multiple right uppercuts, 5 seconds. Now he blocks him to the ropes. He's unhinged with all these punches. And then with 1 second left as the bell is about to ring, Jay Needy jumps and glides in and he just bear hugs Butterbean, stops the fight. Bell rings and Butterbean celebrates. He's in the ring. The crowd is cheering. The crowd was cheering crazy, and Butterbean is running like he's in a marathon race that he beat Usain Bolt. He's cheering, jumping, and as he goes to complete a full circle, him and Peter McNeeley touch gloves and sportsmanship, which was pretty great. And then Butterbean's trainers, cornermen, celebrate his win, and Peter McNeeley, poor him. Yeah, it was bad. And by the way, one of the announcers at the time actually also pointed out after the fight during the time stated that one of them interviewed Peter McNeeley saying that Mike Tyson like for some reason it stated that like I don't know what to say, like
dude, this is even better.
Because someone said that they had an interview with Peter McNeeley.
Hulk Hogan grabs the mic and says, "Hey,"
and for some hilarious reason, talking about that there's going to be a lot of like I don't know what to say. Like it is crazy. But like I said before, guys, like the commentators did say that every time Peter McNeeley comes into the fight, it's over in the first round, which just stinks. I don't know what to say about that. I just don't know what to say that. But yeah, but yeah, the commentators pointed out. What does the note say?
What a great gimmick.
They actually stated that they told him in an interview that Peter McNeeley stated that if he's going to fight with Mike Tyson, saying that if Butterbean is going to fight Mike Tyson, because the people demand it, that Mike Tyson will be the laughing stock of the industry if he actually fights Butterbean.
Well, for the entertainment of the fans out there,
yeah,
booking this show tonight. So
a couple or so years later, until Butterbean fights against Larry Holmes, I don't think that would be.
And he comes out and he says,
yeah, I just don't see that. But yeah, the show went on, and they announced the winner, 2 minutes and 59 seconds, and Butterbean's the winner, and they both hug it out at the end, and
so fucked up, man.
that's it.
Well, he's booking the show tonight, brother.
So looking back at it, guys, Peter McNeeley, later after that, he would come back 5 months later, gets a first-round knockout, and then fights again in June of 2000 to get his 25th first-round knockout in his last fight, which is something that David Nino Rodriguez and Ty Fields, two other hype job fighters that also have 25 wins by knockout in the first round. Just too bad that in 2001, his other fights, which might be something I'm going to talk about some other time, is going to be interesting. But yeah, the thing is, guys, like, Peter McNeeley's biggest fights he's fought was Henry Akewande, Eric Esch, Brian Nielsen, and Mike Bernardo, which not much of a contender, but WBF World Heavyweight Champion, I'll count him, and Mike Tyson. Those are the only good big fights. Like, those are the only 4 fighters that he's fought big fights, and he lost utterly bad by first, second, third round knockouts. It just goes to show you guys that there's a lot of problems that Peter McNeeley was just too... He just didn't have that ability that some people would think, because he was just being too kind that their family were giving him too many baked potatoes. Like, Don King baited McNeeley into those fights and ranked him there just so he'll have Mike Tyson to come out of jail to have him beat McNeeley to be back in the rankings. That was the whole thing. Peter McNeeley's career was dead during the Tyson fight. And this fight with Eric Esch was already the final nail in the coffin. And by 2000, it was just done for. At the end of the day, guys, I just think we all have to settle this, that it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I really just can't argue with it, because at the end of the day, yeah, like I said before, it is what it is. So anyway, guys, that's the end of the podcast. I had a fun time talking about this, but a little bit of doubts. I do have doubts talking about the McNeeley thing and Butterbean and Jermall Hitman Charlo, but I hope you viewers enjoyed this episode. It was interesting to come back forward for this. Thank you for watching this episode. And with that being said, the Fox Wolf will be out, and see you next time.